Hola a todo el mundo, mi nombre es Matt Coss, soy profesor de chino y no de español ahora en la Universidad de George Washington en Washington, D.C. y también soy estudiante en el programa de doctorado de adquisición de segundas lenguas en Michigan State University. So I am coming to you from my brand new house and I'm hiding all of the boxes so you can't see them in Ann Arbor, Michigan with a teaching tip. And today what I want to talk to you about really quickly is a critical element for successful interpersonal tasks. Interpersonal is probably my favorite thing to do in the classroom, and it's critical, we know, for acquisition for various reasons. And it's a big thing that I've been working on in my own teaching. So I want to share with you one thing that I think is critical for making interpersonal tasks worth it for students and effective in the classroom. So just briefly, to make sure we're all on the same page, interpersonal, we can define, and this is my definition, feel free to add to it, as two-way or more, unrehearsed, so not memorized, time-sensitive, interactive communication that requires in-the-moment comprehension and often involves negotiation of meaning to continue smoothly. So that being said, if we know that that's our goal, what is one thing that I think has to happen in order for the interpersonal interaction that we're doing in the classroom to be about the interaction, to be about the exchange of meaningful messages, meaningful communication? So again, we're focused on meaning, and students are making these form meaning mappings, in other words, language to meaning mappings as they are doing this interaction, whether it's with you, their teacher, or with their peers in or outside of the classroom. For me, it's just being able to answer this question: do students have a reason to listen? Because language practice is not a motivating enough reason to continue to get students to be highly engaged in the interpersonal interaction and to get enough out of the interaction to want to keep going or to learn enough language, right? So for me, this reason, or the variety of reasons we can give, spans this idea of intrinsic all the way to extrinsic, right? It's a continuum. It's not an either or thing, similar to motivation. And for me, I try to make sure that every interpersonal task that I do comes with at least one of the following three reasons to listen. One would be obviously the most intrinsic, ideally an interesting topic, so something they actually want to talk about. When we're engaged talking about something we want to talk about, we don't even want to be interrupted, right? We want to keep going, we want to keep talking. Two is a gap. In other words, some information is known by one person and it's not known by the other person. This can be information, you have knowledge that I don't have, or it can be an opinion, right? I want to know what you think about something. And finally, the most extrinsic or externally imposed thing we can do that still does really give students a reason to listen is a follow-up task. So it might be you do an interpersonal task and then they do a presentational task. You might do an interpersonal task, then they do a reflection. So very briefly, a reason to ask, answer, or listen, a simple information gap at the novice level might look like this. You're starting a new class at Spanish 2, for example, and you pair students up and ask them to obtain this information from one another. I'm always very sure to tell my students here that if they already know one or more pieces of this information about their partner, like they know their name, they don't need to ask. We don't need to go through the motions for language practice. The point is the interaction, the point is the exchange of information, and we'll get the Spanish, or in my case, the Chinese or the language along the way. Another one here, again, this is Chinese, but you can see the picture, so you get the idea. This is an opinion gap. So it's asking them, to what extent do you like or dislike doing these different things? They talk about themselves, they talk about their partner. And if you pay close attention here, to facilitate real exchanges, I even added in this little trick that the order is shuffled. So when my partner asks me, and I'm sort of referring to my sheet to remember what I wrote down, it's not just one to one to one to one to one. I have to actually listen, understand what they said, and find the correct one to give them my corresponding answer. Finally, I know I'm a little bit over my time here, but we can give students an externally imposed reason to listen, which is we give them a follow-up task. And this is what my slides look like when I was doing it in a breakout room, but it can also totally be done in like a think, pair, share style in person for those of us that will be in person this year. So if I give you the task that is find out what textures of food you and your partner likes, because we're working towards a goal and we don't have time to talk about that today, I encourage you to use these follow-up questions, ¿por qué? Do you do this thing frecuentemente? When was the last time you did this thing? What is your favorite of the things? But then after you have that interaction in small groups, since I'm only one person, I can't make it to all the breakout rooms, I can't listen to all of the groups, what I have students do is before I ask individual people to share out to the whole class, they all do a recording. The tool I happen to use is GoFormative. You can use any tool. Every single student comes back to the main room or stops their think, pair, share, records with their voice immediately saying, mi compañero, mi compañera, mi compañere has this opinion, has this information. This is the information I got from them. Yo, the information about myself that I just shared, and both of us, what ways are we similar or what ways are we different? And what this allows them to do is process the information, repeat it, so we're getting some nice fluency development here, but it also is holding them responsible for what they have just exchanged. So what they said and what their partner said. Then I either will ask individual students to repeat again, getting a little bit extra fluency development. What did you just say in your recording? Or sometimes what I do is I just pick a random student and play the recording. These are non-volunteers. Sometimes I have students who didn't do a recording, and I always give them the grace to say, oh, maybe your technology didn't work, but next time we go into small groups, I'm going to pick yours first. So let's make sure that your recording is ready. And that helps prompt the students extrinsically a little bit to be a little bit more on task. So that is all that I have to share. I probably went over the 3 minutes just a little bit, but interpersonal is one of my favorite things to do. I wish everybody a wonderful Spanish teaching week, and I more importantly wish everybody a great start to the school year.